Hey everyone, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Penrose. Here's a quick severe weather update this morning. I was going to try to do Facebook Live, but Facebook is not happy with me this morning from home for doing this live, so we'll do the video anyways and get right to the important details. So, a lot of updates this morning. We had one update overnight and a new one that came in just at 9 a.m. And I know it looks confusing because you see these updates, but this is going to be the way this trends today. We're kind of on the edge of this really bad severe weather outbreak in the Carolinas, and so you're going to see subtle changes. So the big change at 9 a.m. was we brought back this higher risk area, higher threat to the north. It's all about this warm front coming north. Still medium threat up here. Really, every single location in North and South Carolina has a severe weather threat. It's just the chances are higher the further south you go. That's the reason we've seen the upgrade. So here's the tornado chances. Obviously, this is the one thing people want to look at right away. Notice the mountains, the lowest chance, 2% probability of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of your location. 5% probability more for the northwest Piedmont and the foothills. But then I-85 basically, south of there, this is where the threat is the highest. 10% probability from around Charlotte south. And you can see this purple on the edge down in the Midlands of South Carolina into Georgia, parts of the upstate. That's a 15% chance that you're going to see some severe storms. How about the timing? Again, the timing has not changed too much. This really primarily looks to be a late evening and overnight threat. I think the first batch of storms today is probably going to be a little bit tamer than expected, but this overnight threat, I'd say 8 p.m. to about 1 o'clock in the morning, this is really the threat. And the supercells, the strong rotating thunderstorms, are by far our biggest concern. So let's get right to the maps. Here's the latest. You can see we've got a big area of storms moving north. And this is the key part of our forecast. Where does this warm front, which is roughly in here somewhere, and really I'd say there's a secondary front in here, how far north does it get? Because anywhere along and south of that front is where you're going to see the threat for severe storms this afternoon. So here's another view, kind of more static view, and you could see the big old tornado watch for Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and parts of eastern Mississippi. We're kind of in a stable location right now, but there's this big plume of tropical moisture, which is almost to Atlanta and almost to Columbia. It seems to be somewhere in here. And this plume is moving north. This is essentially the warm front that I'm keeping an eye on. Anywhere along and south of this front, the potential for severe storms is going to exist this afternoon. So let's turn all of this off and look at the short-range guidance, because that's really what's going to tell the story going into the afternoon hours. So the first model we're going to look at is the short-range rapid refresh model, which is weirdly having a horrible time initializing. I mean, it's not picking up any of what's actually going on right now. So I'm going to switch to another model that seems to be doing a little bit better, but it's still struggling. You can see it's that initial burst of precipitation is not showing up very well in the models. But even in these models, it shows this warm front surging north this afternoon. And as we get to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can see we've got some strong cells starting to develop in this area. Probably fine here, but everywhere in here we've got to watch for the potential for some rotating storms. And you can see this first batch makes a pretty good run at the Charlotte area late this afternoon and this evening. I'm talking 5, 6, 7 o'clock time frame. And some of these storms could be severe. Certainly something to keep an eye on. I don't want to degrade the first batch, but I'm a little less wary of the first batch, though I'm not going to let my guard down. The second batch of storms, which is going to develop back here, is the one that's going to swing through during the overnight, and it's likely going to be even more severe. So we go past 8 p.m., and notice this next line that starts developing into the wee hours of the morning, 10 o'clock, 11, 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and there's the line moving across Charlotte. So it's the second line that really is something we have to keep an eye on. One thing I look at is updraft helicity, which is basically the model's depiction of rotating storms or rotating updraft. And you can see that second line has a really well-defined rotating updrafts embedded in it, which means there could be embedded supercells from about Statesville south. And notice some of these are rotating really violently, possibly. Doesn't mean they're producing tornadoes. Let's get that straight. Could be hail and damaging winds, but that moves right across the Charlotte area between 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and then into the morning hours and pushes off to the east. Let's back it up and show you that first wave, just to show you the difference between the two models. The first wave, you could see coming up, there were a couple rotating storms in there. one in particular there, but look how they kind of fall apart as they move our direction. So they would be weakening rotating storms. Whereas the second batch around 1 o'clock in the morning is the one that has a much stronger threat for producing tornadoes. So just to show you what this looks like in this same model, this is that significant tornado parameter, basically the ingredients for tornadoes. Notice the first surge coming north. There is a little bit of what we call STP, especially in York, Chester, Cherokee, Union County, South Carolina. But it's this second batch. Watch as it moves in around 1 o'clock in the morning, and you could see the parameters there. Pretty big parameters for some rotating storms. So still 2 waves of storms, everybody. The first one heading our way right now is probably going to be the least severe, though we can't rule it out. The clouds and showers will help us out initially, but if these storms move to the north and get through quickly this afternoon, they would set the stage for us to get into this warm sector ahead of the cold front, which is going to come in later tonight. I will be covering this all afternoon. I'll be here for the duration into the night, 4, 5, 6, 11, wee hours of the morning. Larry and I are going to cross over. Just FYI, you can see the tornadoes already developing down here. Several tornado warnings in Alabama. Please, please, please stay weather aware. Don't let your guard down until the system passes. We are going to see fluctuations in the timing and probably severity in spots. Just because the threat goes down doesn't mean it goes away. Everybody has a threat. It's just going to be a matter of it's a bigger threat or lower threat, but I don't see anybody getting out of this completely with zero threat until the whole system moves through.